Good evening, my fellow YouTubers and model railroaders. Welcome to another installment live on video of A and C, R and R, a light and scale and life journey. Okay, so this is going to be totally not train related, and I apologize beforehand. But there has been a lot of questions and confusion as to the conditions that I have. First and foremost, I was in total and complete kidney failure in 2009, and I was rushed to the emergency room and was subsequently put on emergency dialysis. If not, I probably would have died. My kidneys were totally and completely solid, pretty much like a rock. So I had little to no kidney function. I quit urinating. I started to contain water like a water balloon, and was slowly killing myself and drowning in anything and everything that I drank. So, fast forward almost 15 years now. Come this April 29th, it'll be 15 years. I've had cancer in both of my kidneys. I've had to have both of my kidneys removed, so I no longer urinate whatsoever. So every little bit of fluid that I drink, my body retains. Once again, like a water balloon. Also, there are dietary restrictions that I have. So at dialysis, I have a nutritionist, and they give me little handouts. And they show me how much is acceptable to eat without going overboard on them. Really have to watch and notice that all of that stuff says unsalted pretty much. And I'm only allowed to have like X amount of everything. So there's that. Protein is one of the big things that I really need to have in my diet. As you can see, this says eat 6 to 9 ounces of protein every day, and then it goes and it shows how much protein is in these different foods. And because I have to keep my albumin, which is my protein level, over 4%, as you can see down here at the bottom. And just for you, Mr. Dwight Curley, 1/4 cup of tuna equals 1 ounce of protein. And a whole 6-ounce can of tuna is 3 ounces of protein. So yeah. And I have 2 quarter-pound hamburger patties 3 times a week. So that's 6 ounces of protein. My protein is usually pretty good. I eat beans that are loaded with protein. So yeah. And then of course I have other things that I have to watch out for. So I have to watch my phosphorus intake. Phosphorus is in everything. But there are drinks that have more phosphorus because it's added to it, and they're usually sodas. So as you can see, Orange Fanta, Hawaiian Punch, Sunny D, Mountain Dew, Hires root beer, just all these on this side of the page are loaded with phosphorus, and they're drinks. So yeah, and they're not good for me. So the stuff on the left side of the page is lower in phosphorus. And notice also it says limit total fluids to 32 ounces daily. So, you know, the normal human being is supposed to drink 64 ounces of just water a day. I am only allowed to have 32 ounces of fluid a day. That includes all these different sodas and water, gravy, Jello, ice cream, anything that could be a fluid at room temperature is considered a fluid. So I am only allowed to have 32 ounces of fluid a day. If I could get away with doing less, I would do it. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie, I have a drinking problem. I love water. I have pretty much given up drinking anything else but water. Occasionally I'll drink some soda, but it's usually just water. And yeah, it's difficult. And then in order to stay alive, I have to do dialysis 3 times a week. Some people can get away with doing it 2 times a week if they have more kidney function than I have. Some people can get away with less, with more kidney function, but you have to do, if you have limited kidney function, you have to do dialysis because it cleans out all the toxins that your kidneys used to clean out, but no longer do because you don't have kidneys. So yeah, that's very important for me and anyone else that's on dialysis. And then, of course, dreaded Christmas. Ugh. So I do dialysis on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So this year, Christmas falls on a Monday. So I will have to do dialysis on Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. So I will basically have 3 weekends in a 4 weekends in a 2-week period of time. It's devastating for my fluid intakes, and it's really hard. It's really hard for me to watch my fluids during this time of the year. And, you know, there's all kinds of other dietary restrictions I have. I'm not allowed to eat bananas because they have too much potassium. Potassium is a water-soluble mineral that you need to help regulate your heart. Well, too little, your heart stops. Too much, your heart stops. In my case, if I get too much, it will stop. And I've accidentally overdosed on tomato soup. Tomatoes are loaded with potassium. Very dangerous to people on dialysis. Yeah, you gotta. It's really hard. It's hard. A lot of things that you would think would be healthy for a human being are not healthy for a person on dialysis. And things that you would think are not healthy for a human being they're not healthy, but they're a better choice than eating something like a tomato or having tomatoes on a sandwich or a sub or whatever. And then you got to watch your salt intake because too much salt will lead you to drink too much fluid. And it's a vicious cycle. But yeah, I would just wanted to touch base with you guys. Oh, and for those of you who are like, well, why don't you get a kidney transplant, Eric? Well, you know, I did my research on that. And a kidney transplant is really nothing more than a Band-Aid. On average, your average donated kidney, whether it be from a live donor or from a cadaver, a dead person, only lasts 10 to 12 years. So I patiently waited to see if I could get if they would, advance artificial kidney technology before I turned a certain age, because after you turn 70, or if you're high risk in earlier than that, you're no longer viable for a kidney transplant. They won't give you one. And you're only allowed 3 kidney transplants in your lifetime. I have a friend of mine who is on his last transplant. He has a very rare disease called prune belly syndrome, and it affects your digestive tract and your intestines and your kidneys and all of that. And you're born with it. So, he almost didn't get to get his third and final transplant either. He got very sick and was struggling to get well so they could get this transplant, because they put needles, 15 gauge needles into your body in various points, or they put in a chest catheter to access another place that they can have you do dialysis with. But doing dialysis through the hemodialysis through the needles is much better than doing it through the chest catheter. Of course, there's also peritoneal dialysis, and that's where they put a couple holes in your belly and they clear out a section of your stomach to create a reservoir, and that's where all your fluids collect, and you can do this peritoneal at home. Now, it takes longer to do the peritoneal, whereas hemodialysis takes, 3 to 4 hours a day. The peritoneal takes 8 or more hours a day, minimum 8 hours. But it's a lot better for you in the long run, because it's not hard on your heart like hemodialysis is. But you have to have room, and I don't have the room to put, at the time, I didn't have room to put in a sterile, it's got to be a sterile place, and you got to have room to put all the supplies for it and the machine and whatnot, and it wasn't conducive to me at the time. And even with the moving of my mom into the nursing home, I still didn't want to do it, because if it can go bad for me, it will go bad for me. The odds of getting polycystic kidney disease after you've already been on dialysis for a number of years is astronomical, and it happened to me. So that's not a risk I was willing to take. And then of course, I ended up getting the kidney cancer. So yeah, it was not good, not good at all. So yeah, and when I get done with my hemodialysis at dialysis, it's rough. I'm tired, so tired. All I do is I come home and I curl up in a ball. I can't sleep because I have issues with sleeping. That's a different story. But and for those of you who think that I'm totally completely full of poop on this, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn this around and show you my stomach area here. If you can see the big scars, that was the first kidney that they took out of me. As you can see, it's over an 8-inch scar from here to there, and then this scar starts here, goes all the way across, and ends, down here on my side. So yeah, that's where they took my kidneys out. And then, as I roll up my sleeve here, you'll see my arm where they put the needles. And as you can see, those little scabs, that's where they put the needles in my arms. And these big scar patches are basically track marks. And then, of course, I have other scars from where they've done reconstructive surgery on my arms so that I can continue to do dialysis. This little spot right here that kind of looks like a vagina there, that is the original scar from my fistulogram that they put in that helps expand the arteries in my arm so that I can do dialysis. Okay, enough of that. Now, one little thing that is very train related, I started putting screws in the bases of my towers on my helix. And those help keep this thing from moving on the bottom. So I have been working on the layout. I've got more than 2 screws in. That's 2, that's 3. I got one over here, that's 4. And one down here is 5. And one down there is 6. So now all I gotta do is get the notches on the inside and the ramp. I've got some screws and washers and take care of that. Get that ramp down to the foam, and then I can measure out the flex track that I already have soldered to some pieces of track that will connect to the track there and there, and underneath this piece right here are the pieces that are soldered already, but I gotta measure them out because they might be too long, and get them hooked up to the piece right there at the top of the hill on the helix. And then once I get my brackets in and try and get it out to here somewhere so that I can get this track up on, I will work on soldering some pieces of track to that, and we'll be able to get to the second level. And that's the end, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for understanding. And I'm sorry if there's any confusion about my condition. But it definitely isn't fake. It's real. I'd say millions of people deal with it on a daily basis. Not just me, but other people also. They try so very hard to be, not grumpy about it, but there's a lot of death involved in dialysis. A lot of crazy stuff can happen in the dialysis. I had a friend of mine, they're type 2 diabetic, or might even be type 1 diabetic, and their blood sugar got low, and they passed out while they were holding their needle sites, and they were bleeding out. And if it hadn't for me seeing them bleeding out and that they were passed out and saying something to a nurse or a tech, they probably would have died. So yeah, and this just happened a few months ago. This isn't like, it happened years ago. This happened just a few months ago. And we're all the time having to send people out in an ambulance to the emergency room, to the hospital for other stuff. And but anyways, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching. Be blessed. Have a great rest of your weekend. And I'll see you later.